Turn to open session.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're back in open session. I need a motion to certify that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies, and only such public business matters were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Bond? Yes. Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot. Sorry about that. Ms. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Ivers?
Yes.
Ms. Coran?
Yes.
Ms. Woolsey?
Yes.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
I make a motion to readmit student A effective tomorrow, Wednesday, March 18th.
Second.
Second.
I got
We
pen.
got the second. Roll call?
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Ms. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Ivers?
Yes.
Ms. Coran?
Yes.
Ms. Woolsey?
Yes.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes. All right, student has been readmitted. On to our honors, rewards, and recognitions.
This evening, we're delighted to have such a great audience with us and to take this opportunity to recognize lots of our athletic teams, our seniors of the month, our fine arts, music, and art students, as well as some of their teachers, and are so happy to have you with us. And at this time, I'm going to invite Dr. John Staten to come to the dais, and Mr. Lyons and I will go down to congratulate our award recipients.
Good evening. At this time, we will begin our honors, awards, and recognitions for this evening. To recognize the National Board Certified Teacher Kimberly Radford, Laura Williams, our grants coordinator, will come forward to speak to this presentation.
Good evening. National Board Certification is an advanced teaching credential achieved upon successful completion of a voluntary assessment program. The program recognizes effective and accomplished teachers who meet high standards based on what teachers should know and be able to do to advance student learning and achievement. As part of the process, teachers analyze and reflect upon their teaching context and students' needs, submit videos of their teaching, and provide student work samples that demonstrate growth and achievement. MCPS currently employs 30 National Board Certified teachers. This year, 2 new teachers achieved National Board Certification. The board recognized Jennifer McLaughlin in February. At this time, I'd like to ask Kimberly Radford to come forward to be recognized. Kim has been a marketing teacher and DECA advisor at Blacksburg High School since 2000. Prior to teaching, Kim worked in business and industry for 15 years in several marketing, public relations, and entrepreneurial positions. She earned a BS in marketing and management from the University of Virginia in 1986 and received her master's in career and technical education from Virginia Tech in 1999. Kim would like to thank her students and teaching peers for their help and encouragement to pursue this opportunity. Kim earned her National Board Certification in early adolescence through young adulthood for career and technical education. Thank you.
I need a photo op.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Next, Annalise Mayer, our fine arts specialist, will recognize Music in Our School Month and Fine Arts Month awards.
Good evening. It's nice to see you all. I am very happy to be here. March is Youth Art Month. We just finished having a show out in on the other side, and please, if you have time, stop by and see the artwork that we have. There's one piece at least from every teacher, visual art teacher in the county. We had a great group, and we're able to honor lots of kids. To start off with, I would like to introduce to you Bellevue Elementary School, the Ukulele Club. It'll take them just a minute to get set up. You all may come on up.
Yeah, they were like in the
Just go around in front of here. Right there. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all so much. That was Bellevue Elementary School. The ukulele club. And that was under the direction of Natalie Gibb. At this time, are we just about done? Yeah. At this time, I'm proud to present to you the Fine Arts recognition for Montgomery County Public Schools this year. When I call the teacher's name, will the teacher please stand? If I call your name as a student, please come up. I have a certificate, and please stand right behind me, but in a line right behind me, and then wait till everyone has been called. The first award goes to the All Virginia Elementary Honors Choir, Prices Fork Elementary School, teacher Eric Young, students Aiden Bishop, Camden Hayes, Liam Fentress, and Jay Sheeler. Selected to the All Virginia Chorus and VMAE Honors Chorus from Christiansburg High School. Have any students arrived from Christiansburg High School? Okay, we will move on. The Virginia ACDA All-State Middle School Treble Choir from Blacksburg Middle School, teacher Charlotte McKee, Lexus Nussbaum, Liza Thomas, All-State Choir, Blacksburg High School, teacher Tim Woolwine, Addie Purcell. The Virginia ACDA All-State Mixed Choir from Blacksburg Middle School, Ashton Rice, Ethan Fisher, Sam Grove, and Maria Lehman. ACDA National Middle School Junior High Boys Choir, Oliver Peacock. The ACDA National Middle Junior High Girls Choir from Blacksburg Middle School. They sing a lot there. Marissa Adams, Markley Bortz, Rulin Chen, Logan Truesdell, and Bryn Yun. The band All-State winners out of Blacksburg High School, teacher Daryl Pierman. I have William Liu, All Virginia trumpet, and Nick Williams, All Virginia contra clarinet. almost done. For visual arts, the Scholastics Gold Key winners out of Blacksburg High School, teacher Pam McGraw and myself, Lise Mayer, Sarah Fortier, and Joanna Patzig. And my last group tonight, the Visual Arts Scholastics Gold and Silver Key winners from Christiansburg High School, teacher Carrie Lyons, Emily Godby, Austin Grayson, and Peyton Stewart. If I didn't call your name and you're out in the audience, please come forward. I would like to congratulate all our fine arts winners for creating amazing things to color our worlds. Go ahead. Once she shakes. You guys can go and sit. Thank you.
Thank you, Elise.
Actually, Dr. Staten, we are not quite finished with that yet.
Almost done. At this time, I have two students from the BHS Thespian Group under the direction of Carrie Mayer, who will also perform a little bit of fine arts for you. Levi Moneyhun and Morgan Avareg. Aliviaga. Thank you.
I have to get one more thing, sorry. Oh wait, I have the wrong track.
All my life has been a series of doors in my face, and then suddenly I bump into you.
I've been searching my whole life to find my own place. Maybe it's the party talking or the chocolate fondue.
Thank you very much. The gifts that are on the beside your nameplates were created by Eastmont Elementary School art students. The second grade created the vases, and the fifth grade did the pencils for you. So you have your own specialized pencil, hopefully not to lose. I'd also like to thank the board for the wonderful support of the arts that you give us, and just as a little sampling tonight of what our kids have done and do, they're amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elise. Now,
If the honorees would please stay, we'll have a break at the end of this section, but it will allow the entire school board to have a chance to recognize you tonight.
okay, and now, Jennifer Weaver, our Director of Secondary Education, will come to the podium to introduce the next several awards, beginning with the athletic awards. Ms. Weaver?
Good evening. We have an auditorium full of very talented athletes for you this evening, representing Christiansburg High School and Blacksburg High School. So I'd like to call Mr. Shane Gwen to the podium at this time to introduce the athletes from Christiansburg High School.
It's a little tough following those outstanding performances that we had by those kids. You're not going to get any singing or dancing from me tonight. But what I would like to do is first thank you all, Ms. Blackburn and the board, for having us here tonight. It's such a great honor to be able to recognize these student athletes for everything they do for our schools and our community. What I'd first like to do is introduce Mr. Daryl Weber, our wrestling coach. This past season, he accomplished another great honor. He won his 14th straight or consecutive wrestling title at Christiansburg High School, and we've then again broken our record that we set last year in the VHSL for winning 13 straight. So I would like to invite Coach Weber up with his team, and he'll talk about how they did at the state championships this year. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. We appreciate you. You guys can go over here, right over here, bud. There you go. That'll work. That'll work too. There you go. Split them up. We got a lot of them up here. We appreciate you recognizing the team once again. And thank God it's 14 in a row, because those were some tough acts to follow up there. So we've got, there's a lot of people that need to be, appreciated and thanked for our success. Start off with Coach Close, Coach Sonny Close. He's here. I got a great coaching staff. I got a great administration. I've got a great set of parents that none of this would be possible without all of that in place and the support that we get from them. And I believe Coach Close is the only coach that was able to make it. If there's any other coaches out there, come on up. But we have many other great coaches to help these young men out. And the future looks bright. There's 14 weight classes that we fill, and 10 of the weight classes were filled by freshmen and sophomores this year. So we've got a lot of, we got some really good ones leaving us, but we've got some really, really good ones coming up and through, and with some great attitudes. And we also have seven of our former wrestlers on Division I rosters this year. We had one at Rutgers University Wrestling, 2 at Princeton University Wrestling, and 4 at Virginia Tech, and 3 of them are wrestling in the Division I NCAA championships this weekend. So if you can tune into ESPN this weekend and cheer them on, I'm sure they would appreciate it. So a lot of good things happened, but only from all of that support. And I'm going to start off, just go out on the line. We had 10 of our wrestlers qualify for the state tournament. 9 of them placed. Let's start right here. We have Hunter Bolin. Hunter Bolin is a sophomore, state champion. And I'll announce them all, and then if you want to give them a hand, you can give them a hand at the end. Dave Janelle is a senior, took 4th in the state. Dorian Giantonio, senior, took 3rd in the state. Marshall Keller, freshman, was a state champion. Tanner Weitzel, freshman, state runner-up. We got David Giantonio, senior, took 2nd in the state. Nick Giantonio, a freshman, 2nd in the state. Creed Lump, junior, state champion. Xander Whitehurst, freshman, second in the state. And Josh Linkus was state qualifier. He placed his freshman year. He's a sophomore this year. So we had 3 state champions, and we had 4 freshmen in the state finals this year. So very, very successful year. And once again, thanks for bringing us up here. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You guys stick around. And I know I said administration, but Coach Gwynn does an amazing job. I gotta give him some respect as well. Does an amazing job for us.
The next individual I'd like to recognize, she not only does an amazing job with our swim and dive team, but she's also a 5th grade educator here in Montgomery County Public Schools as well. So she's not only balancing trying to be a teacher all day, but she's coming to practices after that, and she also orchestrated the classifications for the state championships at the Christiansburg Aquatic Center about 2 weeks ago. In the midst of a bunch of weather and all the craziness we had, she was trying to balance her job and balance organizing that and having a ton of team and athletes come in. And she also has an athlete who won a state title, and I'll let her talk a little bit more about him here in just a second. So Coach Brell and Ronnie, could you please come up?
Thank you again for taking time tonight to recognize so many wonderful athletes and students in this county. It was a lot of fun to see the musicians up front, and it's always nice to take some time to talk about this young man. So thanks again for having us tonight. It is my privilege again to introduce you to Ronnie. You have met him 3 other times. He is a senior at Christiansburg High School who became a 4-time state champion in 1-meter diving. That is just one event, but to win that event, he has to complete 11 different dives of varying degrees of difficulty. And this year he did that again in a record-breaking fashion. So all 4 years that he has been in high school, he has also been a member of the basketball team along with the swimming and diving team, which both happen to be winter sports. So he has stayed very busy, and many times, like the state championship meet this year, he has left a swimming and diving meet to go to the high school for a basketball game. So he has stayed very busy, helping Christiansburg out in many ways. As a diver, over his 4 years, he has been undefeated. And each year at the state meet, he has either set or broken his own state record. So we are very, very proud of all of his accomplishments and wish him the best of luck in the future. So, Ronnie, come on.
The next coach I would like to recognize as a part of Christiansburg High School is one that started with us a year ago, and he has done an absolutely phenomenal job of bringing structure to our program, but also stressing the importance of community involvement and academics within our student athletes at our school. And because of that, he approached me last year asking for the GPAs of every one of our girls on the team, and I sort of was like, well, what's going on? What are you looking for? And he said, we're going to apply for a national award for our girls team to receive. And I'm going to let him come up and talk about that and show the girls team to you as well. So could Coach Scott Duff and the Christiansburg High School girls soccer team please come up?
Thank you all for having us tonight. As Shane said, I'm Scott Duff, head coach of the girls soccer program at Christiansburg High School. This past spring season, we were fortunate enough to receive the National Soccer Coaches Association of America Team Academic Award. This award is based on a team's academic performance for the entire academic year. To be considered, a team must have a composite team grade point average of at least 3.25 on a 4.0 scale for all players who appear on the eligibility roster for the season. This past year, only 194 girls' high school teams throughout the country received this award. Our team qualified with a team GPA of 3.60, which is a terrific accomplishment while balancing the demands of the life of a student athlete and also while advancing to a conference tournament final and a regional tournament for the first time as a program. We're very proud of our girls for recognizing and appreciating the importance of what it means to be a student athlete. Just real briefly, I'm going to read through our roster from the spring of last year. That's Carly Poff. Turn around and give away an answer here. Hannah Wright. Tori Dibler. Juliana Lima. Ariel Shoemate. Rachel Pauley. Carly Drake. Abby Duff. Claire Sullivan. Katie Cox. Chloe Poff. Haley Rusnock. Allie Bauer. Peyton Stewart. Rachel Mash. Taylor Zuwoski. And Kaylee Taylor. Thank you all very much again. Appreciate it very much. Thank you very much. Take care. Yeah, we have to get that free. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And this is the last time I'll come up here to this podium. So before I introduce the next person, I just sort of want to toot our horn a little bit at Christiansburg High School in relation to this award. Because of us applying for that award, it also caused us to spearhead a little bit to see what all of our student athletes were doing. And at Christiansburg High School, through the fall and winter semesters or grading periods, we decided to average our GPAs of our student athletes. And currently we have just over a 3.4 GPA average for all of our fall and winter athletes, student athletes at Christiansburg High School. So we're pretty proud of what we're promoting in the classroom and on the field at the same time. So in honor of this award also, we're going to call Mr. Peter Lyle, the athletic director for Blacksburg High School, to come up because his girls team also got the same award, so he's going to talk about them a little bit as well. So Peter Lyle.
Good evening, Ms. Blackburn, members of the board. Thanks for the opportunity. On behalf of Blacksburg High School, it's a privilege to have to showcase our athletes, their accomplishments, their achievements, both in the classroom and on the court and on the field. So as Coach Gwynn said there, we also, our soccer team from last year, 2014, not only did they bring home the state championship, but they too applied for this and maintaining a GPA of 3.78. It gives me great privilege to introduce our coach, Travis Escherman. Coach. Before he brings his girls up, let me just say that some in society would say that there's a conflict between athletics and academics, but I mean, this is indicative of what athletics and academics, when combined, how collectively it instills the foundation in our athletes, both for time management, focus, the dedication, the discipline, and the hard work. And we owe Coach Travis Escherman a great deal of thanks because he's laid that foundation for our kids necessary for them to be the successful members of society. So, Coach, you want to bring them up and recognize them?
And first, let me apologize for our attire. We came directly from the practice field, so my apologies. But for the girls, come on up, if you would, please. And I'm going to go ahead and steal a little bit of our Shelley Blumenthal, our coach for the boys team, a little bit of his thunder. Between the boys and the soccer girls programs, we are one of 51 schools across the nation where both programs achieved the NSCA Academic Team Award. So for both programs to do it in the same year, representing Blacksburg High School was a great success, and I know you're going to get a chance to recognize the boys program in a moment. We've got a lot of girls up here just very quickly, you guys want to spread out so I can see you? Hannah Elias, Jesse Woolman, Mackenzie Williams, Aislinn Leedy, Jane Everett, you guys are right behind me, Sophia Thompson, thanks, Double E, Eden Elizabeth Phillips, Allie Palmer, Anna Beyer, Leah Graves, Maddie Dickinson, Chris Martin, and Katie Walters, our 2014 NSCAA Academic Team Achievers. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks. Thank you very much.
We appreciate your leadership.
Next, it's with great privilege, great honor to introduce our cross-country coach, James DeMarco, and his staff on our 2014 Girls Cross Country State Champions. Coach DeMarco and staff.
Ms. Blackburn, members of the board, thank you for your time tonight in recognizing these outstanding student athletes. Our girls cross country team won their 15th state championships, the most in Virginia of any high school, and they have just held up the tradition that we have established over the years from the 80s on. And so these outstanding ladies were the best in Virginia. They set the VHSL low score record for the lowest point ever scored for a team. It's kind of like golf and cross country. The lowest score actually wins, not the highest score. Your first runner gets 1 point. The second place runner gets 2 points, and they add the top 5 runners crossing the line, and that's your team score. And so it is an individual event when you're out there, but you're always fighting for your teammates, and every place matters. And then again, they add up all your scores. But it's amazing how they push each other in practice to be better. And this year's team, after setting the VHSL record, they went on to the Nike Southeast Regional Championships. They won those championships. The first time a Virginia high school has ever won those. That's 13 states from Florida to Delaware, and we were the best school there. And then Nike paid for an all-expense-paid trip to Portland, Oregon, where girls ran against the 22 best teams in the United States, all expenses paid. Courtesy of Nike, and at that championship level they finished 7th, and that was their national ranking. We are the smallest school to ever qualify for public schools to ever make it, and it is a championship among all levels, so public, private, etc. So for a school with 1,189 students roughly, to finish 7th in the whole United States is a huge task, and they did it. It was absolutely an unbelievable experience and something they'll always remember. I'd like to welcome those ladies up here. Can the ladies come up here, cross country? So we have 3 of them here tonight of the 7 that were on that team. And we have Coach Kathleen Poole behind me, Coach Brandon Bear. Coach Bear is getting his physics PhD at Virginia Tech. Coach Kathleen Poole is a professor at Radford University. And they give up their time to be out there with these wonderful athletes that we have. To my right is Bonnie Engermeyer. Bonnie was the cross-country state champion. She's the first cross-country repeat champion we've ever had at Blacksburg High School to win her junior and senior years. She will be attending the University of Virginia on a scholarship. To her left is Olivia Hodge. Olivia is only a junior, so she'll be back out there with a 5:10 personal best in the mile. And she was one of our key reasons we were able to win that championship this year. And to her left is Jennifer Fleming, and Jennifer is a sub 5 minute miler and has a range from the 400 meters to the 5K, and she'll be on scholarship running for the Virginia Tech Hokies. Joining them also at Virginia Tech will be Emily Beatty. She's not here right now, catching up on some homework. And so we had 3 of our seniors all get scholarships to run in college. And so that's another thing that we've been able to continue with the opportunities that we have, and that our school board fights for us all the time to keep athletics in the budget. So we really appreciate your time and efforts for that. So congratulations, and it was a heck of a year, girls.
Before we introduce our next program, I have a very special award to present, and this is on behalf of the United States Track and Field Cross Country Coaches Association. And on their behalf, it gives me great pleasure to present Coach James DeMarco with the 2014 Girls Cross Country Coach of the Year Award on behalf of the United States Cross Country Association. So don't take your seat, James. Now, in the Commonwealth, with the cross country, of course, being the first leg of what is known as the Triple Crown, he brought that home in the fall. And this winter, he's locked down the second leg of that Triple Crown with our girls indoor track program. So at this time, we have the girls indoor state championship team, and he'll also be introducing, we have a state champion from our boys team. So Coach, if you'd like to bring those individuals up.
I would like to introduce our girls indoor track and field team. This was the 8th state championship that we won in the last 10 years. The other 2 years we were second. And so let's bring those ladies up. All right, to my far left is Jessie Woolman. Jessie was 4th place in the 55-meter dash. She's our fastest girl in our high school in the sprints, and she was also 4th in the 300, and also our leadoff leg in the 4x200-meter relay. That was 3rd. To her right is Stephanie Gardner. Stephanie is our superstar hurdler. Stephanie finished 4th also in the 55, making huge leaps from last season. Also our 4x2 relay, and we threw her in the 4x4 at the state meet because she's so fast, and she gladly did that for her 3rd event. To her right is Sophia Thompson, and Sophia was battling injuries all season, but she still was on our state squad and a valuable member of our 4x2. And to her right is Mackenzie Williams. Mackenzie was our anchor leg on the 4x2 that brought back that 3rd place finish. To the far right is Kathleen Poole, also our assistant coach. To her right is Jennifer Fleming. Jennifer was the state champion in the mile and the 1,000 and was one of the legs on our state championship 4x8 relay team. To her right is Olivia Hodge. Olivia qualified in the mile and scored in that event, and also in the 1,000-meter run. And then to her right is Bonnie Angermeyer, and Bonnie was on our 4x8 championship team and the 2-mile state champion for the indoor season. So those are the ladies that got it done, among many others that could not make it tonight due to other spring sport practices or some academic issues going on in terms of studying really hard. So. So big congratulations to you guys. Thank you very much. And now our last athlete is Jacob McCoy. Jacob, can you come up? Jacob is a senior at Blacksburg High School. He'll be going on to run for the Virginia Tech Hokies next year, so he'll have 3 of this year's seniors going on to Virginia Tech, which will be a lot of fun for us to see, competing at Rector Fieldhouse in the wintertime. Jacob ran cross country. He's one of our team captains in cross country, indoor, and our outdoor track and field teams. This young man was on the 5th best all-time relay team last year of all time in U.S. history when we ran 7:41 in indoor track to be the 2nd best of the season. And in outdoor ran 7:37, again the 2nd fastest in the United States that whole year by 0.05. And 3 of his teammates all went on to colleges where they're now competing. And when sometimes you lose that great group, you can kind of lose interest and kind of put your head down. Instead, he got the other younger guys all fired up and getting those guys to believe that they could also do it. Our team, despite losing almost the entire varsity, came back. We got 2nd at the cross-country state championships, and then we go into the indoor state title. He unfortunately got really sick, got the flu, lost 12 pounds, and got his health back. We had 2 delays at the state meet, so most coaches were grumbling about it. I was jumping up and down because it gave him more time to get better and get well. And he came back and anchored our 4x8 to a 2nd place finish, won the state championship in the 500-meter dash, and then came back and anchored our 4x4 to a 2nd place finish, missing the state title by 0.06 of a second. And that was heart-crushing for him, but he is already fired up about the outdoor season and working really hard and getting the guys going. So Jacob's been a great young man to watch grow over these last few years into a wonderful leader, and I'm so excited about his future. So Jacob McCoy. Before I leave, this is probably going to be my last season here. My wife has gotten a job offer. This is hard for me, to Wisconsin, but the parents and the administration at Blacksburg High School and the school board, you guys have been wonderful supporters of our kids. I know every year the axe is coming down, and sports is always one of those things people want to bring up, and you guys fight for it all the time to keep our kids off the streets and doing something really productive and learning those leadership skills, and that's awesome. Mr. Kitts and Mr. Lyle have been awesome with our sports. Cross country and track sometimes get left off to the side, but not at Blacksburg High School. Those guys fight for every single sport, give equal time for all of them, and that's why we've been able to win that all sports championship, the Wells Fargo. Been awesome people to be associated with, and the parents of, that I've been privileged to know, and people that work in this office, you guys are first class. I just want to thank you so much. Appreciate it.
As we conclude, let me just say on behalf of Coach DeMarco, he will be sorely missed, but he has built a program from the grassroots, starting with the children when they're very young. He never has cut. He doesn't recruit. These kids are homegrown, and this program will go on. And Coach DeMarco, you are going to be deeply missed, but you have left a legacy behind, the foundation behind, and we wish you well going into this spring season, bringing home the Triple Crown for the 2nd year in a row.
Next, we have 7 seniors for you tonight. As you know, we had several that were rescheduled due to weather. So we have several from Auburn High School and representing all of our schools. This evening, Mr. Polly is here, Mr. Kitts is here, Mr. Knott is here, and Amy Williams is here from Christiansburg High School. So at this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Polly to come forward and recognize the Auburn High School Seniors of the Month.
Thank you, Ms. Weaver. Ms. Blackburn, members of the board, It's my pleasure to introduce 3 Seniors of the Month to you this evening, and we're going to start with March, and that is Maya Huntington, if she could come forward with her family at this time to be recognized. Your sister can come up too, you know. I have to look to see how many family members are coming. This is a very large family. In fact, in my 14 years at Auburn High School, I've never been there without a Huntington. And she's the last one. So we have the bookends here, actually. I believe Naomi was the first and Maya the last. So it's really quite an evening for us at Auburn High School to recognize the final Huntington. The last child from a family of high achievers, Maya has clearly distinguished herself in ways that make her uniquely appreciated and well-liked by her peers and her teachers. Maya is a bright, motivated young woman who is consistently described as exceptionally personable, energetic, and a joy to work with. She is also known for being passionate about certain topics and issues, as well as confident about challenging what she considers to be unjust or unfair. Mature beyond her years, Maya is able to strenuously defend her ideas and her point of view without allowing it to become personal. She is able to separate the person from the perspective. Maya is a thoroughly enjoyable student to have in class and as a member of a club or a team. Her positive energy and excellent sense of humor enlivens any classroom, and her enthusiasm for learning helps make an outstanding class. Far more than simply an excellent student, Maya is intellectually inquisitive and truly enjoys learning new ideas and stirring them into her own worldview to see if they blend. Though she attends a governor's school and is only in Auburn High School in the afternoons, she stays actively involved in our total school program by participating in many activities and clubs. She always brings a high level of energy to every meeting and event in which she participates. Maya gives the other students at Auburn High School someone to look up to. She is always responsible, respectful, encouraging, and is always willing to help her peers in any way that she can. It has been an honor and my privilege to be a part of her high school career, and I am proud to have her represent Auburn High School as our March Senior of the Month. Do I do something? Oh, there you go. I don't usually do this many. At this time, I'd like to invite Anna Wright and her family. I believe she's here with her parents, Richard and Rhonda Wright, and her little sister. So if they could come up and be recognized. Anna, come on up. Anna is our February Senior of the Month. I'd like to say a few things about her. Anna has been described as truly one of the most impressive students we have had at Auburn High School. She has a very keen intellect combined with excellent organizational skills, a strong work ethic, and outstanding interpersonal skills. Anna also has demonstrated a practiced, well-crafted way with both written and spoken language in all of her classes. Always an exemplary team member, Anna makes all of those around her feel at ease. AHS physics teacher Rebecca Juronsky said, Anna has top-notch problem-solving skills and a wonderful ability to explain difficult concepts in a way her classmates can understand. Anna is also extremely polite and hardworking. She takes initiative and has foresight on tasks that create a seamless working relationship between her and her peers and teachers. She always goes the extra mile doing lab work and projects. Auburn High School government teacher David Hurd summarized his impression of Anna by stating, "She is simply the type of person you want your children to be." Anna is also known for her delightful smile and good sense of humor. Soft-spoken and humble by nature, Anna's excellence can go unnoticed at times. However, she is a top student, likely our valedictorian this year, and we all believe that she will achieve her goals with ease. We are so proud to have her represent us as Auburn High School's February Senior of the Month. And last but not least, our January Senior of the Month is Rachel Sutphin, and I believe she's here this evening with her sister, Emily, if they would come forward. I know her mom was not able to be here with her this evening. Come on forward. You may recognize her sister, Emily, since she was up here as our December Senior of the Month, and they are obviously twins. I'd like to say a few things about Rachel. Rachel is one of a kind. Rachel is not only a bright and diligent student, she is passionate about everything she does. She is academically sound, musically talented, and a great friend to all. Rachel also has a quiet and peaceful countenance and a pleasant disposition. She has a beautiful spirit and a wonderful attitude toward life. Rachel is dedicated to success in all of her classes and puts forth exemplary effort in all she does. She approaches all assignments with a goal of complete understanding of concepts and mastery of skills, and she succeeds in mastering even the most difficult concepts. She facilitates great teamwork in group projects, and she reaches out to the younger students in band and choir to make them feel welcomed. She also often helps middle school students in choir, and they all adore her. Rachel is a pleasure to teach and is overall wonderful to have in class. She is an outstanding member of the Auburn school community, and we are proud to have her represent us as Auburn High School's January Senior of the Month.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to present Blacksburg High School's March Senior of the Month, Miss Joanna Patzig. Joanna is accompanied tonight by Mom Mara. Would you all please come forward? Joanna is the kind of student all teachers hope to have in class at least once in their careers. Pam McGraw and Lee Smayer are two very lucky teachers for that reason. Joanna has been an art student at BHS for several years in the advanced sculpture, painting, and AP studio classes. She is a dedicated artist who works on a higher level than most high school students. We find Joanna a very reliable and energetic young lady. She takes on tasks that are challenging for her without any thought concerning the level of difficulty. Words that come to mind when thinking of Joanna are conscientious, creative, devoted, driven, positive, and delightful. We are very proud to present Miss Joanna Patzig as our Senior of the Month.
Ms. Blackburn, Mr. Lyons, members of the board, it's with great pride that I introduce to you tonight Eastern Montgomery High School's March Senior of the Month, Abigail Lynn Linkus. She's accompanied tonight by her parents, Pam and Tim Linkus. If you guys would come and join me, please. EMHS English teacher Matt Pollard had this to say about our Senior of the Month. Abby Linkus is one of the most talented and dedicated students our school has ever had. During her high school career, she has participated in English MAC, All-Around MAC, and Scholastic Bowl for 4 years. She has twice led the English MAC team to the Super MAC tournament. As an athlete, Abby has been active in tennis, golf, and cross country. Last fall, she played one of the leads in Crimes of the Heart, our school's first full-length play. This spring, she'll be playing the part of the stage manager in Our Town. In addition to her many extracurricular pursuits, Abby has excelled in academics, maintaining an AB average even in challenging AP and dual enrollment courses. Abby also happens to be one of the bravest and funniest and most compassionate students who's ever attended Eastern Montgomery. Her spirit has enriched the lives of students and teachers alike. Congratulations, Abby.
Is Miss Atkinson here? Miss Williams, I am so sorry.
It is with great pride that I introduce to you Christiansburg High School's March Senior of the Month, Christopher Charles Jackson. We know him as Charlie, and he is accompanied this evening by his father, Mr. George Jackson. Will you please come forward at this time to be recognized? Charlie was selected as Christiansburg High School's Senior of the Month for March based on his winning attitude, intense work ethic, and numerous contributions to our extracurricular and co-curricular activities. He has been a stellar three-sport athlete throughout his high school career, winning a number of awards and leading his teams to some incredible victories. This year, he decided to expand beyond football, basketball, and baseball into track and field, and not surprisingly, excelled there as well by qualifying for the region tournament on his first ever attempt at a high jump. Charlie is the type of student to whom others look up. He is an all-around good guy, as evidenced by his willingness to volunteer as a mentor for a freshman who transferred to CHS after the school year began and was experiencing some difficulty adjusting to high school. It was truly inspiring to see how happy this student became and how quickly he made a positive adjustment after Charlie invited him to sit at his lunch table and made contact with him throughout the school day. Nobody asked Charlie to make this connection. He saw the need and made a plan. It would be great if everyone was as tuned into the needs of others and as willing to help out a potential friend. The staff and faculty of CHS are extremely proud of Charlie and pleased to present him to you as our March 2015 Senior of the Month.
At this time, Ms. Blackburn, our Superintendent of Schools, will recognize Celeste Parker, departing Deputy Clerk of the Board.
So sometimes you lose a good one, and we did with Celeste. I'd like to ask Celeste Parker if she'd come to the podium. So Celeste Parker was with us only 18 brief months, but she did an amazing job and became a friend and a supporter, I think, of each of our board members. And she and Brenda Drake were a dynamic duo. What a tag team. So I want to thank Celeste for her service to Montgomery County Schools and specifically as our deputy clerk to the school board. Thank you so much, Celeste.
Okay, this concludes our awards presentation for this evening. We will now take a 10-minute break so that Ms. Blackburn and the board members can congratulate tonight's award recipients.
Next on the agenda is our public address time. The Montgomery County Public Schools School Board allows up to 30 minutes per meeting and up to 3 minutes per citizen or organization to speak to the board about matters of education. If there's anyone who would like to speak, there's no one signed up on the public address sheet as of right now. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the board? Seeing and hearing no one, public address is closed. Moving on to consent items. Unless there is a board member who has something to pull from consent or discuss from consent, we will consider consent items approved. Any discussion? Very good. Moving on to the personnel report. I need a motion to accept the personnel report.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Personnel report is approved.
Mr. Lyons, I need just a second, please.
Okay.
Just having a little snafu.
I got through public address with no one speaking, and I just wanted to move it into light
I
speed.
know, I understand the items marked wrong, and for me to record your motions, I have to have it marked a certain way.
That's fine. You let me know when you're ready.
We'll get through it. It was Goonan and then Sarah.
That's
right?
correct.
Thank you. And Ms. Franklin, you were opposed. Did I hear that correctly? Thank you. Now we're ready. Thank
Ready?
you for your patience.
No problem. Next, we need to pay the bills. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Bills have been paid. Next on the agenda is the financial summary report. Do I have a motion to accept the financial summary report?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Financial summary report is approved. I will now turn it over to Mrs. Blackburn for superintendent's reports, recommendations, and announcements.
Thank you very much. We're going to start with our social studies presentation this evening, so if I could ask Sharon Zucker-War if she'd come to the podium. In our continuing effort to keep the board apprised of curricular initiatives in the district, tonight we have Sharon Zucker-War and some fifth graders with us, I believe, who are going to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on in social studies. Sharon, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to share a few updates on our division's work in history and social sciences. And before I invite our real stars here, I know you've had lots of presentations tonight, and you're going to have one more that you'll be thrilled to see. But just a few updates on our curriculum for history and social sciences. The Virginia Department of Education has recently revised our standards of learning for K-12. So these changes are going to significantly impact the K-3 program, and they're going to create a more, what I consider, and what many of my colleagues consider, a more developmentally appropriate and focused sequence for our kindergartners through third graders. So beginning in the year 16-17, kindergartners will learn about their community, first graders will learn more about Virginia, second graders will focus their learning on our country, and then third graders will investigate the contributions of ancient civilizations around the world. Another area of focus that has been we've been working on in the division is the development of the alternative assessments for grades 3 and then grades 6 and 7, which are the courses for U.S. Histories 1 and 2. And what we're working on there is moving away from that traditional multiple choice test and more to an assessment that allows our students to show what they know by analyzing primary sources and really focusing on that essential skill of critical thinking. My work with history and social sciences teachers continues to focus on providing students with more opportunities to actually do history, which I've talked to you about several times before, not just listen or read about the past. The division's focus on student engagement continues to have an impact on student learning and experiences in the classroom. Just yesterday, I had the opportunity to observe a classroom where students were making the near impossible choices as they played out the events, trying to support their families during the Great Depression. And this is just a really positive, excellent example of how students are actually doing history, making those choices and looking at the consequences that come from those. And then they're analyzing the results in a real hands-on way. But tonight I'd like to spend my time sharing an update on a project that I introduced to you last June. As you may recall, several of our partners, and several of them are here tonight, from the Departments of History, Education, and Computer Science, Todd Ogle, Aaron Johnson, and Doug Bowman. And we've been working, they've created an application that allows students to visit places in time and space using augmented reality. And I don't know if you'll recall their presentation, but we're here tonight to kind of show you the results of that pilot program And I'm very excited to invite a very enthusiastic and dynamic teacher and her group of young detectives who are disguised as fifth graders. And what they're going to share with you what they discovered about Christiansburg Institute through the project CI Spy. So I'd like to invite Mrs. Kelly McPherson and several of her students from Kipps Elementary to the front, and they're going to share what they learned about this place in time and space in their own words. So if you'll join me in welcoming Ms. McPherson.
Thank you very much for having us and for bumping us up, because we are detectives, but our bedtime is fast approaching. So thank you for that. We have some very eager fifth graders who would love to share with you what they've learned. And I wanted to give you just a brief overview of how the project started in the classroom so you can see how they came up with their projects. So Virginia Tech has done a wonderful job of putting lessons together for the teacher. And the first lesson started with a video, sort of a car driving through Christiansburg, and it stops on a building that's boarded up. And I asked my kids, what is this place? And several of them recognized it because they passed it on the way to the pool or the baseball field. But they weren't quite sure what it was, so they brainstormed. Maybe it was a factory or a hospital. Maybe it was a school. I never told them what it was. But they became detectives, because really that's what historians are. They're looking at primary sources to find out what happened, because we weren't there to know what happened. So Virginia Tech brought in for our first project a huge map of the campus of Christiansburg Institute. And you can see they brought in the iPad technology, and they were able to put the iPad over the map, and the buildings would, in a three-dimensional way, pop up on their technology. And they could slide the time bar, and they could watch buildings disappear over time. And they could virtually enter buildings and collect primary sources to investigate and learn more about the classes that were offered there, the students and the teachers. Then we got on a bus, and they were able to unload from that bus and walk on the same grounds the students and teachers walked on once upon a time in Christiansburg. And they were also able to go in those buildings, and they had virtual backpacks where they could store primary sources that we could take back to our school. They unlocked videos of interviews, and they were able to learn all kinds of different information. And so I brought 3 groups of children from my class today to share their projects with you so you can see what they discovered all on their own about Christiansburg Institute. Our first group is Sydney Fritz and Rebecca Webster, and they have a PowerPoint presentation for you.
What is this place? Welcome. Welcome to the Christiansburg Institute, a school for African Americans up to 1966. It was started in 1866 and lasted 100 years, all the way until segregation in schools ended. This was the nicest African American school around, and people came from other states to go there.
Who started it? In 1866, a bold man by the name of Charles Schaefer started the Christiansburg Institute. He was assisted by Booker T. Washington in the making of the school. Edgar A. Long was a principal of Christiansburg Institute for a long time. They named the building after him.
Classes and clubs. They had a lot of clubs at the school, like cheerleading, burbling, cosmetology, woodworking, glee, band, and so much more. They also had amazing sports teams and great coaches. They had good teachers, too.
Viola Charlton. Who was she? You may ask that. We have the answer. She's a teacher, but not a normal one that taught there for 19 years. She taught not only English, but French and the drama club. There was a picture of her put in the newspaper in 1966. She must have been very proud.
And that's Viola with her pointy thing. The chalkboard. Yeah. Separate but equal. That was a common term in the segregation times, but it wasn't actually fulfilled. However, in the Christiansburg Institute, they took these 3 words and lived by them. It was just as good as any other white school, if not better. This was one of the things that made it so popular, the fact that it was equal.
Then students. The students at the school took the students at the school took great pride in the Christiansburg Institute. Why wouldn't they? The school had intelligent students who thrived in the sea of knowledge. They had dorm houses so students from far away could stay there.
Shutting down. In 1966, the glorious school came to an end, as all good things must. Segregation in schools ended, bringing the white and the black together as one. The buildings were sold off for $274,000, and most of the buildings were torn down. Some students were happy, but others didn't want to let go of their school. What in the world?
So this is the final class. Oh, this is the final class photo, and once it stops spinning, so some of the people on there looked happy, and some looked sad because their school was closing down. Okay. And then, looking to join the school? Check out some of the rules.
They had multiple rules at the school, such as students are not allowed to retain arms in their possession while on school grounds. Pictures!
So as you can see, some of the pictures, like in the top right, had fewer kids because that's when they were just starting out, and in the top left, because there was younger kids, so you know that's when they first began.
And then here is when they became more advanced. As you can see, they have a safety patrol and dorm rooms and the study hall.
Made by
Sydney Fritz and Rebecca Webster.
Thank you. Our second group is Norin Bortz and Mia Yan, and they have a poster and timeline to share with you.
So today we're going to share about the Christiansburg Institute. So the Christiansburg Institute was the only African American school that freed African Americans could go to get education. Charles Schaeffer was the founder of Christiansburg Institute. And Booker T. Washington was a man who thought that Christiansburg Institute should have more trades for the girls and boys.
Activities. Most of the activities there were like football, basketball, singing, cheerleading, band, and they also had clubs after school like science club.
Edgar A. Long. Edgar A. Long was principal of the Christiansburg Institute. His name was used as one of the only buildings that is still standing today. The Edgar A. Long building was right in the middle of campus. So we made a little timeline. It says 1866. Christiansburg Institute was sponsored and opened. 1874. Built a 2-story wooden townhouse or schoolhouse. And then 11 years later, the wooden houses, as the school grew, wooden houses were replaced by brick houses.
In 1885 through 1900, Booker T. Washington came to Christiansburg Institute to help the trades. And in 1900, Christiansburg Institute moved to the place we know now.
Okay, this is our last transition. 1900. CI moved to the place we know now. And 1900 again. Quaker group brought acres of land from Christiansburg Institute. 1954. Montgomery County School. Montgomery County Schools took over Christiansburg Institute. And finally, in 1966, the school closed.
Okay, we have one last group, and it is Trevor Vandervoort and Dustin Cermak. They have a PowerPoint presentation for you as well.
Today we are going to share our PowerPoint, and we learned to virtually record our voices so we don't really have to say anything.
All About Christiansburg Institute by Trevor and Dustin. All About Christiansburg Institute by Trevor and Dustin. Charles Schaefer founded Christiansburg Institute in 1866. It was an all-African American school with all ages at first, but then after a little while it became a school for older ages. Their mascot was the Golden Tiger, and their school colors were green and gold. They had very good sports like football and basketball. They also had great teachers, so their education was high in class. As time went along, Christiansburg Institute's population began to grow higher and higher. People came to Christiansburg Institute from many different cities and even some from another state. This is the last building out of 12 that used to be there. Barbering and cosmetics are two of the trades they taught. They also taught home economics and building trades. The last graduating class of Christiansburg Institute was in 1966, and after that, they closed up, leaving many memories inside. Thank you for having us.
I do want to thank the students at Kipps Elementary, and especially their teacher, who is really always willing to take on these tasks and these projects, and has a true love of history, and really does share that with her students. And so we do want to thank our partners at Virginia Tech, and for making these opportunities available. And what is happening next is they are continuing to work with these students, but then also applying for another round of funding for this to expand the program, to continue the CI SPY and get other students involved, but then continue the curriculum and the technology development of these things. So do want to just emphasize the fact that these students were presented with the primary sources, and they answered questions, and they asked more questions and tried to find the answers and put these stories together. So we thank them for their time and their energy, and especially coming out, and their parents for bringing them tonight. So thank you all for being here.
I wish I could talk, but this is just wonderful. I recognize some of the faces and have family members who attended Christiansburg Institute, and it's just wonderful history. Just thank you so much.
It's wonderful presentations. Thanks for coming out tonight. And I give you permission to go and go to bed.
Thank all of you for joining us this evening. We really appreciate it. Thank you. I don't think the rest of our agenda is going to be nearly as much fun. I guess we have to do it though anyway. So we'll go now to the business honor roll resolution. In our continued efforts, oh, I'm on the wrong one. I can't read that. That's the wrong agenda item. Well, it doesn't want to go backwards. Let's see if it unfreezes. I've got it by now. I just have to find it. There we go. When all else fails, try the paper copy. So you have before you the Business Honor Roll resolution. Tonight, we're recommending that you approve the Business Honor Roll resolution as presented. Annually, the Virginia School Board Association recognizes local businesses and organizations for their support of local school divisions and ask each school board to nominate up to 3 businesses or organizations for placement on the VSBA Business Honor Roll. In Montgomery County, we ask each of our schools to nominate at least 1 business or organization, and these groups were recognized back in the fall at our business partners reception. It was November 18th. From that point, we had a group of 6 judges who reviewed all of the business partnerships based on 6 criteria, and they selected actually 3 organizations, one which was a partnership and one which was a sole organization, and they had identical rankings. So tonight, we're asking the board to adopt a resolution recognizing Bellevue United Methodist Church and Belmont Christian Church for their backpack program that provides food for more than 70 families at Bellevue Elementary School each week, as well as the Christiansburg United Methodist Church for their strong partnership with Gilbert Lincoln Elementary that includes providing services and other volunteer projects for students at the school. The resolution is presented for your approval this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, board members?
I think you meant to say Blacksburg United Methodist.
You're correct. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anything else, board members?
Is Blacksburg United Methodist still working the trailer park at Gibbons Lane? Yes, it is. That's a great program. Students get off the bus. This is what I observed and helped with a little bit a long time ago. Students got off the bus and went right to the trailer park, to the trailer, and they were given a snack, and then they could do their homework at that point. Later on in the evening, if I'm correct, the high school students would come in and get their homework done. Do I have that pretty much right? And it's been a great program. It's been going for a long time.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution is approved.
Thank you very much. Our next item is the school calendars for 2016-2017. The calendar was presented for information at your meeting on March 3rd, 2015, and it is provided tonight for your approval. No changes have been made since it was presented to you as an information item.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, board members?
Yeah, I know we're going to hear a lot about the early start, but the benefits in this calendar, ending the semester before the Christmas break, is a huge benefit for everyone. And quite frankly, a lot of school districts across the country start this early. So I think we'll be good to go.
Thank you for sharing that, Ms. Franklin. We do get a lot of positive comments, both from students and from staff and parents, about ending the semester prior to the winter break.
My wife is the only one who gives me the negative comment. All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I just gave myself a death sentence. The school calendar is approved.
Our next item is an update on insurance. Joe McAlandra, Director of Human Resources, and our insurance consultant from McNary Consulting, Sherry Hutchins, will update the board regarding insurance plans, options, and cost for the upcoming year. The information was also recently shared with the Insurance Committee. Welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Blackburn, Chairman Lyons, members of the board. I'm here tonight with Sherry Hutchins from McNary Consulting to discuss possible cost containment options available to Montgomery County Public Schools for next year. Health Insurance Advisory Committee met on March 4th and was well attended. During this meeting, options were presented to them that you will see tonight. It's important to remember that during this presentation that we are providing options to consider as we move forward with our health insurance renewal and the budget process. No decisions have been made about the designs or changes in any of the plans. The only decision that has been made is that we will continue having Anthem provide our insurance for next year. Tonight we will present some of the strategies that could help reduce our insurance increases or to assist Montgomery County Public Schools in containing any increases to our rates for next year. This is not an exhaustive list. Rather, it is meant to provide the board with some ideas that could help with this containment. One of these options include adding a qualified high-deductible health plan. We will describe the basic elements of this type of plan and the corresponding health savings plan that will be connected to the high-deductible health plan. We will share with you the changes that, if implemented, will affect the effect that it would be on our monthly premiums. And finally, we'll entertain any questions that the board may have. Cost containment may be necessary due to some projected increases in our health insurance. As you are aware, we are projecting a 9.4% increase or $776,000 increase to our existing plans. Additionally, because of the Affordable Care Act, Montgomery County Public Schools will be adding 263 employees, or possibly 263 employees, to our current health insurance. This adds approximately $1.2 million to our budget.
Thanks, Joe. As Joe said, with this added increase from healthcare reform as well as your renewal, we've been considering different strategies to handle or deal with or offset or absorb, looking at every possible scenario that we could. And we basically have put this into two categories. The first one would be basically just cost shifting and saying, okay, the plan is going to have a certain amount of money that's going to be coming from added to the budget. And so what we're going to have to do is ask that employees share in the cost of insurance. Currently, obviously, as you're aware, the board covers 100% of the employee-only coverage for the HMO. And again, this is just an option because that's what we do, is just provide different options for consideration. One would be to ask employees to pay something out of pocket on a monthly basis. And you can see for the example that we actually put together, from the renewal perspective, having the employees pick up $46 a month would cover the cost of the increase due to the renewal. And then for the $75 a month would be actually absorbing or cost shifting the increase due to healthcare reform. So that would be a total of roughly $120 for the employee on a monthly basis. Option two that we were looking at, which is something that is less invasive, if you will, is to consider actual changes to your current employee benefit plans. So looking at different tactics, whether it be deductibles or office visits, and actually increasing the cost of each service. For example, as it shows, that would be including or adding, I should say, a deductible to your HMO. You currently don't have one. So adding a network deductible of $200 per individual and $400 per family. For the PPO deductibles, we looked at increasing both the in and out of network deductibles as shown. And then also increasing the office visit copays and also the out-of-pocket maximums. If you want to go ahead, okay. Oh, did you do it for me? Thank you. Okay, so, and this looks a little busy, I understand, but I want to walk through it essentially is just pricing out the options that I just talked about. And one point that I want to mention that I kind of meant to go into detail on the prior page is regarding the actual out-of-pocket maximum. So a change that is occurring in 2015 under healthcare reform is that now out of everything that let me rephrase this. From 2014 and previously, the only thing that accounted for your out-of-pocket maximum was your coinsurance or your deductible. And now, post healthcare reform, you also have office visit copays and your prescription drug copays. So all of that is going to be adding into your out-of-pocket deductible. So those levels will actually be hit at a more rapid basis. So I wanted to explain that only because I know looking at your current out-of-pockets being at $2,500 and $5,000 and jumping up to, again, just an option we priced out at the $5,000 and $10,000, it looks like a big jump, but in reality, it's not as drastic as what it appears. Questions on that? I know that's confusing. No? So if you look at how the impact is actually priced out by plan change, you can see that the total amount is $606,000 roughly. And that takes into account both of your plans.
So if you look at those, that's kind of like a laundry list of items that you could choose from. And if you did one of them, say just looking at the PPO, the ER visit copay, and you increased it to $300, that would save us about $19,000 in the total plan. So there are options here. You don't have to take them all. We can pick and choose out of these again. But if you look at the total savings, if you did all of these things, and it's a lot, but if you did all of these things, you'd save $606,000 out of what we're currently projecting. So your increase for next year, if we did all of these things, would actually decrease to $169,784. Okay?
Do you know how many of our employees have the PPO versus HMO?
Yeah, actually, at this past open enrollment, you had a pretty big shift. Last year, you had the larger population in your PPO, but because of the decision to fund the HMO, that plan was running a little better. Employees moved over to that plan, so now the large majority of your employees are actually in the HMO.
Okay.
So is there, I guess my question with that would be, if there's a shift one way or the other again, are these numbers going to change very drastically?
I guess that depends on what the board decides to do and what ends up happening. If you're still offering the 100% paid for employee only in the HMO, I don't see a shift happening again. Now, if you start equaling those out, in other words, having everybody pay a premium, that might equal things out a little bit and have people, if you will, migrate back over to the PPO. But if you're offering 100% employee only, I don't anticipate a shift.
So these numbers are based upon what our current people are doing, PPO versus HMO?
That's correct.
So we're $1.2 million that we got to come up with.
That is for the Affordable Care Act, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Plus, there's $230,000 that was already in the budget. So actually, the cost of the Affordable Health Care Act is almost $1.5 million for the part-time employees.
Right. So the employees, do they understand? Have they looked at this? You said you had a committee. Does that committee consist of school teachers also?
Yes, sir.
And have they looked at this and they know that this is going to be a decision that we're going to make?
Yes, sir.
And we're going to make it for them. So my question is, okay, we're between the rock and the hard place, and so are they.
Yes.
Which are they picking, the rock or the hard place?
Yes, sir. There was mixed reaction to all of these options when I met with the committee. Some of them are recognizing with that cost shift that that is a big shift from what they're used to. And some of them have made comment that we're picking up the cost of the health care reform if we shifted those costs over to the premiums. In other words, had everybody pay a certain amount. So there was that from one side. The other side was, again, the if you will, the part-time employee saying this is a good plan. And again, it went back to the part-time incentive. So it really it was split, and depending on who, what job function that person had. But we had a good mix of folks there from all different classes, if you will, or job classes, that were represented.
It is important, though, I think, to recognize that the cost of health care for our employees was going to go up regardless of whether we added part-time employees or not. It was going to go up by almost $780,000 just for our current employees.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, there's the $1.5 million to add the additional 200 and some employees. So it is not just one thing that's driving the cost up. It's the increase in healthcare costs, period, and it's the increase in the number of employees that we need to provide coverage for.
So before we make any decisions, they understand where we are.
Yes, sir. They understand, and that's something that I did present to the committee as well, the budget, where we are with the budget, and what the increases were to that committee. I showed them that what we presented to the Board of Supervisors and the difference between what we're being funded and what we're asking for. They are fully aware of that. Yes, sir. As we go on here, if we keep plans the way they are, don't make any changes to the plans, that is, don't take any of those recommendations, or not recommendations, but options that you had in the previous slides, that this is what our rates would be projecting out. In other words, status quo, we just stay with what we have and do not make these changes. This is what our projections of our rates would be. Now you notice that on the bottom there of the slide that the HMO we zeroed out, because if we continue on the path of where we were with the school board and their decisions to fully fund a health plan for employees, that would mean that the HMO would be zero for the employee as well. Then you would just take that amount, if you look at it, the $689.14, and subtract them from the ones below it. And that's how you come up with the monthly premium for the employees. Okay? The one thing that I will point out on this slide is that if you look at the employee plus one, that is the same thing as our employee plus spouse or employee plus child. So it's just adding one person, and it just didn't make sense on this slide because it was busy enough to add all of those on there. So employee plus one is either a spouse or a child. And remember, last year we added the employee plus children. And we did have 22 employees take advantage of that, and I think there was a cost savings for them as well.
And the premiums in the bottom part, the employee portion, that's monthly for 10 months or monthly for 12 months?
That's a 12-month rate. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. I just wanted to clarify that because we did switch to that.
Yes, ma'am. We will continue on the 12-month.
Thank you.
Another option to be considered with the plan structure changes is to add a qualified high-deductible health plan to the plan options. If offered, this plan, like the PPO, would be an additional or optional plan for employees to choose from when making a health plan choice. While the administration believes this plan can offer some additional benefits to employees, it can offer benefits to the school board as well, but it does have some limitations. Employees should take a careful look at their health care cost or their expenses for health care and balance those with the financial impact that the plan could have if chosen by these employees. If the plan is offered prior to open enrollment period, we decide that we should offer this plan to employees. The Department of Human Resources will provide several informational sessions that details the benefits and risk involved in choosing this health plan.
So when it comes to really trying to understand what a qualified high deductible health plan is, or high deductible health plan, you probably have heard people refer to consumer-driven health plans, and that's what this is referring to. So essentially, these were created to provide a cost savings tool for self-funded medical plans, but to also provide an option that was much more affordable for employees. There are certain groups of employees that prefer high deductible health plans. There are some that merge or migrate into those plans because of the financial advantage to being able to do that. Now, the way that we are going to, we're going to talk about in a little bit more detail, but in terms of the general structure of these types of plans, but essentially when you have a high deductible health plan, which under healthcare reform and legislation has to be $1,300 deductible or higher, so it's $1,300 minimum deductible. And what you do is you attach that plan to either a health savings account or a health reimbursement account. And an HSA is what we've been working through here for a number of reasons why it's advantageous to the employee. But having those two partner together actually allows the employees to build a savings account that is there for their medical expenses for future years. It is actually their account and they own it. Even if they leave the school system, it's theirs and it goes with them. So all of that being said, and the way that an HSA is actually funded, employers will typically donate or fund a portion of that, which is referred to as a seed. I don't want to get into too much detail about the seed. I'm jumping ahead. But so that's the component of it that we're talking about, is the actual funding mechanism of that.
Real quick. The health savings account, like Sherry had suggested, is it's very similar to what we think of as a flexible spending account, and we're all familiar with the flexible spending accounts. The benefit of the health savings account is that it's a use it or keep it, unlike the flexible spending account where it's use it or lose it. The monies that are put in either by the school board or by the employees is their money to use for healthcare expenses. The other key component of this is that you could use it if you're on a healthcare savings account, you have one, and your spouse is with somebody else, you can use that money that you put into that account to pay for your spouse's co-pays, for your spouse's deductibles and things like that. Now, that won't count toward your deductible or your co-pays, but you can fund it in a pre-tax manner to build that savings account. Yeah. Now.
Sorry, I jumped ahead.
That's all right.
So we looked at the sample rates before, and that's what this particular slide is showing as well. What we did was we assumed from a migration analysis that 5% of those enrolled in the PPO and those enrolled in the HMO would move over to the health savings account or the high deductible health plan. Now, when it comes to, and I know I mentioned the seed already, but that's what I was referring to. What we've included in these calculations is the assumption that the school would provide $110 per employee or per individual, and then $220 per family tier. So what that does is it covers the deductible. For individuals, it covers the deductible for them, the annual deductible, and it covers it for families as well.
So that's a monthly contribution by
Yes.
the employer, the 110 or the
Well,
220?
that's the actual contribution by the schools that goes into their account on a monthly basis.
So when the numbers here that I want to also say, the 441.90, if you look at the employee only, that does not include the 110 that would be put in there into the health savings account as well. That's just the premium. So the total for the premium and the monies that are put into the health savings account, you'll notice is less than the HMO. Okay? And that's important as we move forward. When comparing the monthly premiums of the PPO and the HMO and qualified high deductible health plans, it is clear to see that the high deductible health plan is very economical. Employee rates, as you can see, reflect the school board paying the same employee rate for all tiers while fully funding the deductible for employees and the employee plus however many tiers. Additionally, each employee that migrates into the high deductible health plan from either the PPO or the HMO will save the school board about $117 per month per employee. So there's a savings both for the employee and for the employer when going to this account. One other thing I'll let you see here, and if you can see on the slide, the rates for the high deductible health plan are very inexpensive. And it is affordable for those people who are not just employee only. Okay? It is affordable. However, I want to stress that this plan is not for everyone. It is not for those folks who may take prescription drugs that are expensive, tier 3 or tier 4 drugs, because they'll eat up that deductible very quickly. Okay? They'll eat that seed money and it'll be gone, and then they'll be dipping into their own pocket. The other folks it's not as good for is that anybody that's on any kind of health maintenance routine where they're going to the doctor on a routine basis. Okay? Because that will eat into your deductible as well. So this plan is really meant for, if you will, healthy individuals. But we have plenty of those as well. The other thing about this plan that is nice is that all preventative care is covered at 100% without having to meet the deductible. So if you go in for your annual physical, you pay nothing. That is a part of this plan as well. Okay? So as we move into this very difficult budget season again this year, the administration wanted to offer some cost-containing options for the health insurance. We can choose some, we can choose none, we can choose all of them. The administration will continue to work with McNeary and Anthem in trying to provide ways to contain the health insurance costs while providing our employees with a affordable, well-rounded health care. And we will entertain any questions that you may have at this time.
Have you worked out a plat-type situation where you can compare, an employee plus one is $114.04, but let's say that person eventually needs more prescriptions than the average person. Have you worked out approximately what it would cost them over a year versus if they were to pay $435 a month or $339 a month?
Part of the presentation that I've done in the past when I've migrated from a traditional PPO or POS plan to a high deductible health plan is to show how people can use the difference in those monies if they have a procedure coming up or if they plan or have those things that they know are going to be there. To plant that money in that savings account for themselves. So yes, part of the presentation to the employees will show them how they can save money, but also show them the pitfalls in what could get them in trouble, if you will. Because if you can't afford that and you don't put that money into those accounts, it can be problematic.
Is there a stop loss on the high deductible health plan?
Yes, ma'am. It's the same as the other plan. So it's a 25.5 right now. So if we took the high deductible health plan and we're planting the seed money, if you will, we're giving them $1,300 or $2,600 per year. You take that money and you deduct that from what the deductible is. If the deductible is $2,500, we're giving them $1,300. So now anybody that's on that plan is only out $1,200 before they have to pay nothing else for health insurance. Whereas
or prescriptions?
Pardon?
Or prescriptions?
Prescriptions, again, with the affordable health care, everything that you pay in health care goes toward that deductible now. All prescriptions, all doctor's visits, all co-pays, all of those go toward that deductible.
So is Anthem going to manage the high deductible too? I know Virginia Tech, Aetna's doing the high deductible one. Is Anthem going to do both?
Yes, it's called the Luminos plan. It's
Okay.
the plan that's called through Anthem.
Okay.
So with the high deductible plan, you could take this plan and you're a healthy person, you're managing those funds so that you're, if there's anything expected coming up, but if there were an accident or a serious illness, then you could be in serious trouble.
Well, again, you have to remember that the maximum out of pocket is the same for those in the high deductible and those in the PPO or the HMO. So if something should happen to me and I have to have a surgery that costs $100,000, okay, which is easy to do in a hospital, any hospital stay, you're going to spend at least that much. The maximum that I would pay on the HMO out of pocket is $1,200. But if Ms. Franklin goes and has the same surgery and she's on the PPO, you're out $2,500 because the maximum amount of pocket is $25.
And the high deductible health care plan, they would be out
$1,200
$1,200.
rather than the $25, because again, we're planting that seed money first.
And your monthly bill is a lot less too.
That's why it's a win-win for both.
Yeah.
Is the 5% that you're estimating migration, is that a conservative number, a high number? Where do you think that?
That's a conservative number. And Joe's been through this before with other implementations, as have I. The key to successfully enrolling and getting the highest possible volume of individuals to move over is proper communication, and it's using or providing the decision tools that Joe was referencing. So I know I've seen first year high deductible health plan enrollments upwards of 35%. You've worked with one personally, I think that was 40% in first year. So again, it comes down to proper education, which is key. And we would be partnering with Anthem on that as well, because the biggest, and Joe has stressed it enough, and I know that we keep stressing it, but it's because it's true, having someone feel comfortable and understanding what a high deductible health plan is absolutely key, because the last thing you want them to do is to look at it from a financial perspective and say, I'm all in, and then have something happen. So the decision-making tools are key because it helps them really think and understand what their healthcare expenditures are like on an annual basis. And so all of that factored together is really going to drive that 5%.
So when they do these training sessions, do they actually work with them on a one-on-one basis?
Anthem has not done that specifically.
Okay.
However, we would absolutely be providing very specialized communication tools and support, decision support tools is what they're referred to as, so that the member can actually look at their information, because you're going to want them to do a little bit of homework before
Sure.
they make this decision, and that's not always easy to do, because the average enrollment process from an employee by themselves takes 10 minutes or less. And so this is one that we're going to want it to take more time, because you want it to be an educated decision that they're
Right.
comfortable with.
Okay.
It's been my experience in the past that you're right, that the one-on-one is sometimes very necessary, especially if it talks about certain job classes. Some people sometimes just can't get their head wrapped around it, and
Right.
and I can give, my wife is a perfect example of that. She can't wrap her head around insurance for no money in the world. She's a teacher, and she's like, when it comes to insurance, she just gives it to me and says, make the decision, Joe. So you're right, but there are those out there that don't have a Joe sitting there that understands this and can do that for them. So yeah, we would work with them, but I will stress to every employee that takes the plan or is interested in the plan that this is a decision you need to research first. Don't just jump into it because you see the cheaper rates. That's not always the end goal.
If all things stay status quo and we were to have 5% migration over to this high deductible health plan, what is the bottom line savings? I don't have my calculator to do the math.
Going to try to nail me down on the number, aren't you?
I am.
Well, there would be a significant savings. Now, I can't right now, the numbers here, if you look at those numbers there in the previous slides, there are savings there. There's a $20 savings per, if you just look at the HMO. Okay? So we would have to really look at that time, and to put those in hard numbers is difficult at this time. But we would be looking at a savings, and we could project that. At least the 5%, that would be the conservative effort to look at that financially. Anything more than that, it's a big shift in thinking about how you deal with your insurance. It's a big shift from what the employees of this school division have had in the past, where they're managing their health care rather than having somebody else manage it for them, or have somebody, I can just go to the doctor. Now with the health insurance, you can pick and choose where you're going to get that test done, where you're going to get that x-ray done, because I can get the x-ray done at this clinic for $20 less, and it's my $20, not the school division's $20. So it's a different way of thinking about health insurance. So again, it's a big shift. So this is a very conservative number, but I would be remiss if I told you that I could come up with that number right now. I just can't. I mean, we're looking at $20 per employee per month. Out of the ones that migrate over, you're looking at $117 per month savings.
Okay.
On your beginning slides where you mentioned the different choices of, like 100 or 200, how would we get an idea of what option they would choose and how much that would save us?
These would be plan options. These wouldn't be by employee only.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. This would be the plan design, so you would have to make it across the board.
Got it. Okay.
And you're still telling us that the employees are very mixed as to which way they would want to go in this.
Well, it's hard to predict what employees are going to do. The only thing we can really look at is their past behavior. The migration from the PPO to the HMO this past open enrollment was purely driven by the fact that, or for the large majority, I should say, the fact that the school system began funding the HMO rate. So the employees were just following where the money was going.
Yeah.
So knowing that what we're referring to in this one particular option is that the rates for the HMO and the high deductible health plan would be funded. So we're not necessarily driving people into the high deductible health plan. There are organizations that do that, and that is an option that we've not really talked about, only because that seems really abrupt compared to where we are right now. So looking at past behavior and knowing that employees are going to go where the money is, it's safe to assume that those that are healthier, and I'll touch on that in a second, are going to go into the high deductible health plan or stay in the HMO. The people that have stayed in the PPO are the ones that are really the ones driving claims, and there's not a lot you can do about that from a cost perspective, except to manage the cost. So are those individuals likely to leave? Probably not. But that is the smallest population of your employees now. Does that help?
No.
I didn't feel like, yeah.
I agree with Ms. Franklin. I think we need to be careful because to make the assumption that employees are going to pay either 0 or 114 and save the rest is not really realistic. And then all of a sudden, the accident happens or the illness happens that puts them under. That would be tragic, and we have to be very careful of that.
But it's not going to put them under. There's a maximum.
Yes, there's absolutely a maximum.
And it's the same as the other.
It is.
So
It's
it's
less,
not
actually.
like, I mean,
Yeah,
less,
it's the same out of
like
pocket.
the HMO.
I mean, coming
It's
from
less than
somebody who pays a
PPO, but the
fortune a
same as
month.
the
it's-
HMO.
Well, not only that,
Oh,
but
well.
the high deductible health plan, you actually are covering the deductible for the employee, whereas you're not in the HMO or the PPO.
Right.
So they're not going to be, it's not going to destroy them, if you will, if the worst happens any more so than one of the other plans.
Okay, thank you.
And again, it's just a choice. It's another option for them to choose from.
Yeah. High deductible health plans nationally have, obviously in the last 5 years, skyrocketed in terms of participation. It absolutely has skyrocketed in the public sector, particularly in the education sector, mainly because when I look at my other school system clients, they all have an HSA or have had one for a number of years. Those that are moving into it now are considering it like you are doing it because they need to consider other options because of healthcare reform and other financial factors.
Do all the school systems put the seed money in there monthly instead of putting it all up front at one?
Yes,
It's a mixed bag.
yeah. You can do it different ways. I have some that do it twice a year. They fund in January and July. Those that do it on a monthly basis want to be more conservative because, and it all comes down to examining your turnover, what makes sense, because the last thing you want to do is for an employee to hold out on getting a contribution and then they leave. But again, it's...
Just seems like a small amount in those first few months
is.
to me.
It is, and so that's why there are options to consider in there and being flexible.
The success of a high deductible health plan depends on the seed money.
Yeah.
If you do not put seed money in, it's not as successful.
Yeah, but it seems like it'd be more appealing if it wasn't monthly like that.
Right.
No.
And again, I've been in school divisions where we put it all up front, gave it to them at the beginning of the year, and so they had it for the rest of the year. Others, again, divided it. Again, I've not been in a school division that did it monthly. Again, they split it halfway through the plan year.
And these calculations, I just made the assumption it was monthly, but the total amount is still in there. Yeah, so whether you want to fund it all at once or not is totally up to you.
All of these numbers are solid numbers from Anthem, correct? There's no more fluctuation?
Again, we are still working through all the numbers and coming up. The nice thing about the self-insured is really these are options that Anthem has given us and have suggested to us, but we are in control of the premiums.
Right.
Okay, so we can set the premiums higher or lower than what Anthem has given us, and that's why we have our number crunchers do it for us. And so and it depends on where we land and what those numbers end up being. So that's why we ran a couple different scenarios to show you what those effects would be.
But the basis of the numbers that you're projecting and recommending is keeping your self-insurance plan solvent with the right amount of reserves, et cetera, and so that's the basis for your recommendation.
Without question. But I will say, because you are still considered an immature plan, because it's your first year of self-funding, you're not there yet. So we definitely want a solid year of stable claims coming and going. But because of Anthem's projections based on the fact that the county has the same HSA and there's been stability there, they were able to provide some additional credibility factors to use in these numbers.
And this might be a little nitpicky, but if we were to go with the higher emergency room copay option, versus the 200 versus the 300. I know you can't really predict ER, but in our past history, how many people are we talking about affecting?
It's not a lot. That's why the number is not very high.
Okay.
There's, for organizations that maybe have a lot of ER abuse, it would be a bigger impact.
Right.
But with yours, honestly, we'd have to push it up to like $500 to really get some additional savings out of that, and that's just not something that we would suggest.
And the same thing about the out-of-pocket max.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, the out-of-pocket is a little bit of a higher ticket item, if you will,
Right.
for the PPO, you'll see.
Right.
Because that's the plan where everyone happens to be running and hitting it, because that's where the large claimants are. So with self-funding, when you're calculating or determining plan savings options, you're literally saying, what's the volume of claims for this service?
Right.
And the greater the volume is, the greater the savings if you change it.
So could we pick the higher option for the HMO and not the PPO?
Yeah, you can pick any of
Okay.
these a la carte if you wanted to.
That's the beauty of the self-insurance.
Okay.
As long as Anthem can administer it, then we can price it and
I
you
mean,
can
I just
implement
wouldn't
it.
want to be hurting any of our employees, you know, by increasing that.
We run, it's typically about 10% or less of our employees hit the out-of-pocket maximum.
Okay. That's
Okay.
helpful to know.
Yeah,
Very
so
helpful.
it's a low number. It's significant for those folks who hit it, but you're looking in our plan, you're looking at about 100 people that hit that maximum out of pocket for the year.
Okay. That's helpful.
And that fluctuates every year, of course, because of, you know, where they are.
You know, I'll just say, I've always been a big supporter of our coverage for our employees, and I still am. I understand the high deductible plan as an option, but quite frankly, if we just keep adding and adding and adding to our deductibles, it just grows and grows and grows. So sooner or later, our employees aren't going to be able to afford the plan. So at some point, you have to put a stop and say, this is what we're going to be doing. In the past, you know, the employees have been very understanding of the situations that we're in. And this year is a difficult one when we're adding 263 potential folks to the coverage, which is wonderful, something we've wanted to do for many years, and now we have to. So I see this is going to be a difficult decision, but I'm going to tell you right now, my vote is going to be for 100% coverage for our employees.
This doesn't change that. This is just.
I know.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
know what you're saying.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm
Okay.
But it could change, and I'm just putting it out there where I'm at right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, part of what we do too is we work with Joe and understanding what the board's philosophy is and how we can define strategies and create strategies that are within the area of consideration. And like you said, it's not always an easy option or an easy decision. I'm always going to probably suggest more things, and there are a lot of things I've suggested that Joe said, we're not putting that on there. So it's one of those things that it's knowing what the end goal is, and that fantastic, these individuals are going to get coverage, but you still have the challenge of overcoming the obstacle with the budget. And so how do we get from point A to point B? And so coming up with it, particularly when you're self-funded, because you do have so much more flexibility to add plans and tweak things here and there, but you just have to make sure that overall that the strategy of the plan is still there to balance out what your goals are, covering employees at 100% or you know, offering a high deductible health plan. Whatever your top priorities are that you determine, we'll make sure that there are plenty of options there for consideration.
Okay. Our time frame in this is essentially just when we decide on the budget, correct?
Well, we brought this to you tonight because we are moving in the direction of having to make decisions about a balanced budget. So we wanted to give you some information to be thinking about because it will figure in your final bottom line to balance the budget, what kind of concessions or changes you may make to your health plan, or you may choose to do it in other ways. But these, I think, have to be in your menu of options, and staff and I will do our best to bring you some recommendations about what we would suggest in terms of some priorities for considering as alterations to the health plan.
Again, I think that needs to be reiterated. Whatever plan we decide on, it cannot affect the employee's take-home pay. Just can't do it. We have taken so much away from our teachers, our employees totally, that we just can't do anything in the health plan that's going to cause them any cost effectiveness whatsoever. Now, if that, you say that's already in the mix, and I would also vote that it would better stay in the mix. I think that they're underpaid, overworked, and we keep on giving them more to do. The mandates keep coming down, and they keep coming down, and they're totally unfunded, and this is not going to be one mandate that's going to be unfunded. It's going to be funded as far as the teacher, as far as employees are concerned.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sherry, Joe, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I told you the second half of this meeting was not going to be fun. Which takes us to a budget planning update. And I believe you have hard copies on the dais of the 3 attachments. Do you have them, Brenda? Okay. We're going to pass them out now because they're a little hard to see on the screen.
Just pass them. Okay.
You already have the same thing.
So you should have 3 sheets of paper. One is the fiscal year 2015-16 budget. It's a front and back copy, and it has the tan color lines on it, and a blue and a green. The other one that you should have is one that says calendar on it. It's going to be important budget meeting dates. You should have that one. And then the final one that you should have is one that says school operating budget increases for payroll and related items. So you should have those 3. And I'm going to take just a minute and talk about them because as you know, we are moving into the point that we're going to have to start talking about balancing a budget, not just a needs-based budget, but balancing a budget. So I provided you with the updated budget sheet. It reflects the known additions to our revenue to this point. It adds the $445,250 in state money that is there to support the 1.5% average compensation increase for state-recognized SOQ positions. It also reflects the county manager's proposal of $1,975,205 additional dollars from the county's revenue. I think the best place to really look at what's changed is to look on the back of the page at lines 72 and 73. So with the adjustments that have been made, the total budget request is $101,809,009, and the total available revenue as of this moment is $100,349,506, or a difference of just about $1.5 million, which is that bottom line, 74. So we're $1.5 million away from the needs-based budget. As you know, this is a preliminary look since the supervisors will be discussing the budget again on March 23rd, and they will set the advertised tax rate at that meeting. If nothing else changes, the gap between possible revenue and our needs-based budget with these adjustments is now $1.5 million. It started at 3.9, then it went down to 3.4, and now we're at 1.5. Some of the major drivers of the gap in the 15-16 budget, and you know, they're unpleasant to talk about, but I think you have to talk about what the big ticket items are that are driving the gap, other than the lack of enough money. The things that are driving the gap are the two-step compensation increase for employees, which has a cost of $2.1 million, and the state is providing $445,000 of that money. And that number, 2.1 million, does not currently include anything at the top of the salary schedule for those folks who have essentially exhausted the steps to the top of the scale. And it was something that I had talked about earlier as maybe being able to look at in carryover money as one-time bonuses. But I want you to keep that in mind because we're getting down to decision time in a quick time frame shortly. The second thing that's driving a big driver is the increase in the health insurance cost. It's $776,000 for your currently insured employees. And then the third thing that is the big driver is the required funding of the health insurance for part-time employees working 30 hours or more at a cost of $1.5 million. So you look at those three items, and they total $4.4 million of new expenditures in a needs-based budget for 2015-2016.
What number is the first one you mentioned?
The first number that I mentioned is 2.1 million, and it's on line, Katie, can you tell me which line that's on the budget? It's on 3 lines. It's the salary increases.
Got it.
Katie will come and she'll tell you which lines it's on the brown, the sheet that's coded tan.
The salary increase. I'm sorry?
The two-step increase.
The two-step increase appears on line 6 and line 15.
Okay, and what line is the health insurance $776,000 on?
That is on line 18.
Line what?
18.
Line 18. And then the 1.5 million for the part-time benefits?
16.
Line 16. So those are 3 high-cost drivers of the budget. The insurance presentation that we made tonight was made because it includes some possible cost-saving steps to contain the insurance cost while still covering a broader number of employees. Staff and I are going to look at these, and we'll try to bring you some priority recommendations. I've heard from the board that providing at least an option for which the employee does not have an out-of-pocket cost is a high priority. The supervisors have in some past years funded capital costs for the schools from an alternate funding source. Our needs-based budget this year includes $775,000 in capital needs, and they're at the bottom of your budget sheet on page 2, I believe. It's the buses, it's the additional technology, it's the roofing projects. There's been no discussion of possible alternative funding sources in any of the supervisor meetings that I have attended. It was not a part of the county manager's budget proposal, and it was not mentioned in a special work session that Katie and John and I attended last evening. But there is still a chance that they could take action to do that, and I would certainly encourage you, as you speak with our supervisors, that would be something that we could ask them to look at. Either the June revenue that comes in because that's a one-time 13th month in their real estate assessment, or to actually ask for this money to come out of capital reserves, because that would mean it would relieve that $1.5 million by another $750,000 and bring us down to a gap of $750 instead of $1.5. I present that this evening because I know that you all are going to be in attendance when the Board of Supervisors meets on the 23rd, and that you may have opportunity, as may our employees, to broach that subject with the supervisors. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, you said in the past they've done that?
They did it 2 years ago. They did it 3 years ago. Last year they didn't, but they did it the 2 previous years.
And they were still for capital things like
Yes,
buses?
they were exactly these same expenditures, technology, buses, and roofing projects. It was for less buses, but it was for buses.
Okay,
I think
thank-
I've added one bus in this budget so that it was for 3 buses instead of 2 that they had funded in prior years.
Thank you.
The second handout is the budget calendar, and I give you this for a very important reason. It's the one entitled Important Budget Meeting Dates. We will have a very short window to bring our budget into balance. The Board of Supervisors approved their budget on 4/20. We go into work session on 4/23 to try to balance our budget, and the budget must be completed and approved by the school board on May 5th. That is 7 working days. However, I got a feeling those weekends are going to get lost to that also, but it is just 7 working days. As I've been thinking about our budget, I reflected over the years since 2010-2011 school year, and that reflection is the third handout that you have. It's the one that's called School Operating Budget Increases for Payroll and Related Items. And I'm going to draw your attention to some of the items on here. The reflection is actually the story of our budget increases and how we have spent the money that we've gotten for the last 4 years. I think it is important to know that the focus of the board has been on minimizing the impact of additional reductions at the school and classroom level while keeping employee benefits whole and addressing the salary schedule. I want to draw your attention to some key lines on the document. You will note that the first highlighted number is $10,740,981. And that number represents the mandatory VRS increases that we've had to pay for the last 4 years. It represents the health insurance increases that have been absorbed by the board, and it represents what we've been able to provide our employees in compensation over the 4-year period 2011 through 2014-15. Just below the $10 million number, you will see a second highlighted number, and that number is $8,431,500. That's how much extra money we've gotten from all sources over that time period. So I guess the big number to look at is the third line. What's the difference in the operating budget increases and the payroll and benefits increases? You'll see that we have provided $2,309,481 more in benefits, even though some of them are not optional to employees. The VRS is not optional. If you're a part of it, you're a part of it, and we have to pay the mandatory increases. But that tells you exactly why we have not been able to restore any of our positions, whether it be library aides or whether it be cafeteria aides or whether it be the 20-some teaching positions that we've cut from our school division. But you know, I look at it and I know that the employees that we had, we needed to do these things for the existing employees. So I don't consider it, you know, a bad investment at all. I consider it a great investment in a quality workforce that we have in Montgomery County Public Schools. But it does show you where the money has gone for the last 4 years. We have done the very best we can to put it back to the benefit of employees. Finally, I would draw your attention to some numbers at the bottom of the page, and I just thought a little bit about the 15-16 budget. You'll see in blue the necessary payroll and benefits increases of $4.4 million, and they are for compensation, health insurance, and for the Affordable Care Act impact for part-time employees. Balance that against our new revenue of $2.7 million, and that's if I add the 1.9 that we're getting from the supervisors, hopefully. And again, you'll see that we're in a deficit this time by $1.7 million. So it takes me back to something we talked about when we began the budget season. I told you that I needed $108 million to give you the same school system that you had in 2010. And I do need $108 million to give you the same school system that you had in 2010. And I share all this today because people, you know, when I've gone out on my listening tours and those kind of things, you know, employees have said, when are we going to be able to increase supply budgets? And when are we going to be able to put the cafeteria aides back in our elementary schools? And when are we going to be able to restore the library aides? And I have to look at them and say, I don't see it. And I don't see it. So as staff and I start looking at this again, you know, I'm going to continue to try to focus on taking care of the employees that we have. Not going to try to focus on trying to add too many things to the budget, unless you tell me otherwise. When I spoke with Roanoke Times, I told them I was going to remain optimistic because it's early in the talks with the supervisors. But I do think that now is the time that we really need to marshal our resources and make some statements to the supervisors about the fact that the money is going into investing in our employees, and that the amount of deficit between where we need to be and where we are is just too big to be able to close. You know, I know that you don't want to increase class size again. I know that you don't want employees to pay for part of their health insurance premium cost. But we're coming again to the point that I really do not know where else you're going to find $1.5 million. And, you know, we're going to have some carryover, and there's some things we can move to carryover expenditures. But that's becoming kind of a shell game where we move, you know, things that we want and things that are really necessary into money that we can't really count on. So I wanted to make those statements because we're going to have 7 business days in the final analysis to balance the budget. And we do have some opportunity between now and then to perhaps influence some of the decisions that are being made about the funding that will come to the school system. And again, I would certainly look at the opportunity that might exist to move that $750,000. Questions?
How much will we have in carryover?
Well, we know we're going to have $1.4 million because we have the money that we moved from labor surplus that's in this new budget, okay, where we had hired less expensive employees or less experienced employees to replace more experienced. We're going to have the $230,000 from Affordable Health Care Act that we've been budgeting as a line item just to have a cushion. So that's $1.6 million there. So you're going to have somewhere between $1.6 and $2 million in carryover. And that's another place that you could look to put the capital items, but I'd much rather see it come from a potential refunded source such as the capital reserve.
I'm trying to add up how much in here is going towards the e-backpack program. Could you remind me on line item 57 and 58, it says technology, software, and equipment. Are those both related to the e-backpack?
I don't have the line items in front of me. Katie, why don't you come up and tell us exactly what items are e-backpack, but let me make a prefacing statement. There's about $211,000 in revenue from the state for e-backpack that supports 3 schools. There's $198,000 approximately for Blacksburg High School that's not funded by the state, and then there's a technician. So, Katie, you can tell us what lines those are on.
The technician salaries are on line 7 and line 19. And on the back, lines 59 and 60.
Okay, so 57 and 58 are different.
Right.
Okay. I calculate that's about 358,636. So I'd like to highlight that, given the number, that definitely wasn't our school system in 2010 that you were referring to. That's definitely different this year, and I think we've got to really look at whether that can be feasible come this fall.
Well, I think the other part of that is you have to know that you take $270,000 off your revenue, so it changes your numbers. So you give up, but you also save.
And I guess that's line item 60 for what?
Right,
State's
that's the
giving
incentive
us.
portion of the e-backpack. So if you don't do the e-backpack in the original budget, you would have to take out the revenue of $213,600. So the savings would be the $294,836 plus the technician.
Right.
And you will recall that we did fund e-backpack out of carryover this year, and we were able to get the state money at that point. So that's another thing to think about.
The Roanoke Times also spoke with me, and I spoke with them, and indicated that this was a needs-based budget. And that's exactly what it is. I've looked through this thing, and I've looked through this thing, and I just can't find anywhere where we could cut. So I also indicated to them that unfunded mandates kept on pounding away at us, coming from the state and from the federal governments. And it comes down to the point where it's amongst the Board of Supervisors, the teachers, the Board of Education, and the citizens to make up a decision as to where, if we're going to continue to have a first-class education, which we do now, and I think we can continue, but I don't see how we can if we don't meet the needs of a needs-based budget. And it comes down to the point where we need to hear from the citizens, we need to hear from the teachers, we need to hear from this board to focus on the supervisors thinking more about a first-class education system. And I think that that's critical.
Well, too, I just want to kind of put in a little word for the e-backpack thing as far as, could we switch that? And I know we don't like to do anything like that with the carryover budget, but since we did pay for that, could that kind of be something that we kind of say, okay, we're going to look at from year to year, and so we also look at carryover money from year to year? Is that something that could be, transferred into that kind of area opposed to a needs-based budget area?
When you get to balancing your budget, that would be something that you could look at for a carryover expenditure. The issue with it is that it delays your implementation cycle. So this year, we weren't able to actually put the tablets in students' hands until the beginning of the second semester because it was so late when the carryover request was approved. But again, that is an option.
Well, and just
It's better than not doing it at all.
Oh, absolutely,
Definitely.
because I went to a teacher conference today, and at Christiansburg, and Abby, I don't have to do those, but she has a high B and wanted that extra credit to make sure she didn't mess up her straight A's. And, it was really comforting talking to the teacher at Christiansburg, because he said, we're not in a new school, and it's hard for us to take our students to the technology, because there aren't any technologically areas. And so that's one of the things that I think makes it hard, where, Blacksburg has a new school in lots of areas that they can go and do their technology, but Christiansburg doesn't have that. So with that in mind, when we're looking at that is, he really expressed about how they really use them and how they need them. So.
Well, obviously,
see it through a different point. Really.
As I was on the listening tour, I had a number of teachers talk about the impact of all the students having the same tablet
Exactly.
device as well. I know we won't balance the budget in here tonight, but we're going to do it in 7 days from from April the 20th to May the 5th. So, but I needed to plant some of these seeds so that you could begin the thought process, because it will be a very challenging time, as it always is, and we'll have to make some tough decisions. And, I know we'll hear from employees about their druthers in terms of how to do it. But right now is the time that we have an opportunity potentially to increase the revenue that we have available. And unfortunately, the only people who can do that for us at this point is the Board of Supervisors. We're past being able to further impact the state at this point, although I would continue to say that the failure to fund is that of the states, much more so than the Board of Supervisors.
Board members, anything else? Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Blackburn. I know it's been it continues to be difficult. And thank you, staff, for all of your hard work. Joe, thank you. I am going to hound you about those numbers. Unfinished business. Board members, does anyone have any unfinished business that they would like to address at this point? Okay, moving on to new business. Anyone have anything new that they would like to share with the board?
Just like to remind everyone that the Montgomery County Educational Foundation is having a benefit concert fundraiser on Chairman Joey Lyons' important birthday, so he won't be there. But
you can say 40th. Okay,
40th. But you'll get another chance to see the wonderful Bellevue Ukulele Club that performed tonight, which the foundation helped fund those instruments, and also Levi Moneyhan that performed the skit afterwards. He'll be there. So we hope that some of you can come, and some people in the audience.
Anything else, board members? Announcements and information?
Brief information regarding my attendance to Southwest Virginia Governor's School Board meeting. And it was a relatively short meeting, but I'd like to acknowledge the fact that we had 10 students participated and got third place, second place, first place, various awards in their 2015 Science Consortium, and their animal science, chemistry, computer science, consumer science, engineering, microbiology, plant sciences, and then some research reports, and representing all our 4 high schools. There were 10 students all total. And then Governor's School will start August 6th for next school year, and then basically they presented the extended day survey, which there's a pilot program with county students adding their Governor's School days to include not just math and science classes, but English and government classes. And apparently the pilot program has been doing very well, and I don't know what's the next step in terms of extending the opportunity to others participating high schools. But if I hear more, I'll report more.
Thank you.
I will be attending the National School Board Association Conference down in Nashville this coming weekend. What I may do is I may email you and let you know what the topics that I've picked out to go to attend, because I think they all revolve around superintendent board relations and technology. So I'll let you know what that's about.
Anyone else?
One other thing, as a coach from Christiansburg announced, 3 Christiansburg high school graduates will be wrestling in the National Wrestling Tournament for Virginia Tech this coming weekend on ESPN. Check it out.
Well,
I'm sure you will.
with that being said, too, I got to say this. I know it's late, so I'll be quick. But tonight definitely proved, and I shared with the coach, the track coach that was leaving from Blacksburg, You know, everything that was said tonight, the awards for the grades, I mean, we sat an hour for awards tonight, an hour. That definitely concretes everything we fought for in 10 years over the no pay for play, and how important sports make a difference for education and student learning and making kids want to go to school. And it proved it tonight. Everything that was said and done was proven tonight. So I just wanted to say that.
All right, upcoming school board meetings, you see those on your calendar. Our next meeting to be together will be March 30th, our joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors. If you have anything to suggest for an agenda of that, please send that to myself or to Mrs. Blackburn, so we can make sure that that gets on there.
What time does that start?
I'm sorry?
Is it 6?
I think that's 6, and we do dinner together, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah, 6 o'clock. Yeah. All right, you see the other meetings, that's it. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.
This is the